Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is the one and only, the real Manos.
Hello!
Hello. So this should be an interesting episode of fan film reviews today, Manos, because we have an incredibly short one. This may be the shortest fan film we've ever talked about.
Ever.
I remember we did the Silver Surfer one, but I think that was even longer than this.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're talking about Orion, a fan-animated short film. It's 3D animated this time. I'm guess I'm on an animation kick for fan film reviews. And this is just one of those ones where I've had it in my watch later for a long time because I'm like, oh, maybe we could talk about that sometime. And here we are. So I guess we'll just start with general thoughts, and I'll let you start us out there.
I really enjoyed it. I was really kind of taken back by how good the animation was. Because to be honest, maybe a few seconds in when I realized it was going to be animated, I didn't expect too much. But no, this was really solidly done. It's beautiful to look at, and all the characters are nice and detailed. I couldn't even tell if it was CG or stop motion. And I immediately was thinking that this could have been on Cartoon Network's old DC Nation shorts.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I could definitely see it as broadcast in that style, just like this. Don't even have to change a thing.
Yeah. For me, generally, I did really, really like this. I love the aesthetic they used. It's a really, really nice blend of Kirby and Tim's art styles.
Yeah.
I've always said that I wish Jack Kirby had lived longer for numerous reasons, of course, but among them is I would love to see what Jack Kirby would do with 3D modeling technology, because so much of what he did was all about geometry and doing a lot of really cool, intricate geometry. And so this kind of just solidifies what I believe Jack Kirby would have done, and it looks really cool from that perspective. The parademons look right out of the old DCAU continuity stuff, so that was really cool to see as well. Overall, I thought this was a really, really nice, solid 3 minutes. Not a second of it's wasted. It's really, really tight just to see it all together. It's so detail oriented and just does a really, really good job. This feels like it might have been like a senior project or something like that, like a final for an animation course or something. And if it's not, if this was just done, on a lark for fun, cool, great work. And this, I mentioned we've been talking about a lot of animated fan films lately, or 2 in a row now. Game of Thrones, the one we talked about there, it was great and all, but they spent 2 years on it, and it was a pilot. And it's not really self-contained very well. This is just, it's a 3-minute short, and you definitely are left wanting more, and if this guy ever wants to, he can come back and do more with this. But it's just a nice, solid piece, and I really appreciate that about it.
Yeah, it's a really good introduction to the character. It promises to be able to continue on, but it's not even necessary. If it just showing us enough, I think. And actually, the way it ends kind of almost reminds me of one of the first like major fan films, the Batman Alien Predator one.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
where that
yeah, yeah.
ends. Where that ends with Batman being faced off by a whole bunch, and he's getting ready, and then the credits roll.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I didn't even think of that connection. That's a really good point. So that's really cool. I don't know. I like a lot about this. You mentioned that you couldn't really tell initially if it was 3D or stop motion. I could immediately tell it was 3D, which again I'm just really excited about because that's the medium I like. That's the medium I have some but not much experience in. So just to see all that together was really cool. And I really appreciated that about it. It was just a really neat thing to see all as a solid piece. So the other thing that I found interesting about this was I don't know how well you remember the first issue of Kirby's Fourth World New Gods stuff, but like the from memory, if memory serves, it starts out with like the background of the old God's world dying and the new God's world coming into being, along with Apocalypse, and then it cuts to Orion and he's entering Apocalypse and fighting parademons, and so it's like it's almost an adaptation in some ways of the very first Orion appearance, which I thought was really really cool how that worked out.
Oh, that's cool. That actually wouldn't surprise me at all if that was correct.
Yeah, so that I don't know, just a lot of this was really really neat. What did you think of the music choices here? Because I noticed he used music from a couple different pre-existing sources.
Yes, I recognized one of them, and I gotta say they were very nicely used. They didn't, because sometimes when you use music from other sources, either from your fan film or I've even seen studios use, public domain stuff. It has to fit, and I think this does a very good job doing that. It blended well. It didn't remind me of, oh, hey, this is from that other thing.
Well, like I saw one of them was like from Punisher Warzone, which is a movie like 3 people saw.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty good choice. To pick something that's like professional and all, but not necessarily really well known. It's funny to mention Punisher because like I think of the Thomas Jane bootleg universe fan film where they like really obviously used music from The Dark Knight, and it was just like really really distracting. So it's a good choice not to do something like that.
Exactly, because you keep thinking like, oh, this is from The Dark Knight or whatever source it comes from. It kind of takes you out of it because it's not its own theme song.
And obviously, like the New Gods have never had anything in media where it's just them and they get their own theme kind of thing. Like I'm sure they created a theme for Orion or Darkseid or whatever for the old DCAU, but it's not like something dedicated like to a series or anything. So it's if you can't do something as a fan project score-wise, if you can't take it from something that's pre-existing and make it work, and you don't have the resources to do your own kind of scoring, I think taking stuff from other things but without making it too inherently obvious is a really smart choice to make.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the animation a little bit too, and
sure.
This is going to be kind of a quick episode because I'm running out of stuff, but so I do CG. I'm not like very good at it, but I do it. And something that I noticed here, it became obvious to me as I watched this, really intense action fight scene, was that there was a bit of a lag in movement, a bit of a kind of slow motion thing. And ultimately, it's pretty effective, and it feels like it feels like the punches have more weight to them and stuff. But every so often, I just notice like the character's moving a little too slow, and I think that can be from 2 things. I'm not sure what the frame rate is on this. So when you're rendering CG, you could render 24 frames a second, which is what film does. You could render 30 frames a second, which is what a lot of HD digital film uses. Or you can do something crazy and render like 120 frames a second or whatever. And just it depends, and it makes things smoother and whatnot. So it could have been frame rate. It could have been that since this was rendered just by a dude, I'm assuming, on their own, without necessarily access to a render farm. It could be that it's just got a really low frame rate, and there's nothing they can do about that. Totally fine. I can't really fault them for that. What I think I'm leaning toward as to why some of the movement looks a little sluggish is probably due to processing power of the computer while creating the animation. So I'm trying my best to explain this in a way that makes sense to people listening to it who have no idea what I'm talking about. Hi, Manos.
Hi.
And also be useful to the person that made the thing. So depending on how good the PC you have is, digital animation is a very taxing project on your computer. No matter how good it is, it's very taxing. But one of the ways in which your computer, if it's not very good, makes up for having to do all this shit with digital animation work, as far as the modeling, the rigging, the laying everything out, is it will like kind of slow down and skip and kind of jitter as it displays it to you. And you won't have any way to really tell if it's doing that unless it's really, really big. You won't have any way to tell if it's doing that incrementally until you get your final project all rendered out. Final product all rendered out. So a suggestion I'm going to make, and I'm sure this filmmaker is aware of this by now since this came out a couple years ago, but just generally to anyone that does anything with CG animation and rendering, and something I wish I'd been told, is when you model, when you animate characters, it's really good to have two things. One is a visual reference, even if you're doing motion capture or if you're doing pose and keyframe animation work. Having a visual reference of something real doing something similar is a really good idea, and it gives you a good sense of timing and making things just work, because it's hard to intuitively know these kind of things just guessing on frames, and it's really abstract. So having a visual reference, like, you need Orion to kick somebody, film yourself kicking the air or a dummy or something, and then put that in your program, and not necessarily doesn't have to parrot everything, but it should take about the same amount of time. That's just a really good general tip. The other tip I would have is to, instead of waiting to figure out if it's all going to work with your final render, do really, really low quality renders. And this goes not just for character animation, any kind of animation. Do super low quality renders, like frame size of 140 by 25 or some shit, with really low resolution of pixels, just because you're not so much worried about how it looks, you're worried about how it moves, and that will give you, again, a better sense, because it'll give you a sense of how things are going timing wise, and it just could make things look a lot smoother, a lot more fluid. So hopefully other people were able to follow me that have not done 3D modeling there. And I just hope that's really useful advice to just anyone in general, because it's something I've definitely picked up on as useful tricks. And it's it's nice to have a render farm or something. Not everyone can afford one of those. So, all right, Manos, you got anything else you want to talk about with this one?
No, it took the words right out of my mouth. I totally agree with that.
Okay, fair enough. Last thing I got is, I think there's really, really great texture and fluid work. Those are some industry terms right there. Texturing's pretty obvious. Fluid work would be in reference to the explosions and stuff. I thought those looked really good. Mm-hmm. Really, really cool stuff there.
I have to say, I was pretty uncertain. I mentioned earlier that I was uncertain if this was stop motion or 3D, because first off, the character models are really so kind of realistic, mm-hmm. To the point where it could kind of fool you. And you mentioned something in the slow way they moved at times. Mm-hmm. Because that was one of the things that was kind of clinching it for me. Like, oh, this has got to be stop motion, because the way they were connecting punches there. And yeah, this I I'm kind of like really. I love watching something that kind of can fool me, where my eye can't determine what it's looking at. Because I'm so used to how everything is made, either by the big pros and the studios, or even fan creators and indie creators. Maybe it's because I just have too much information, or it's just too much in the public eye. But it's kind of fun having a sense of wonder about something.
Yeah, I agree. It's really cool when CG can kind of adapt and do a bunch of stuff that you're just not expecting it to do and look like other things. Because I don't know, I just get annoyed with the CG doesn't look real. Well, okay, but how real do the old practical effects look if you're going to be that nitpicky about them? So I always like getting into thinking about things in other ways. CG is just another medium, another art form, and it's not necessarily meant to be real all the time. It's meant to just be convincing. So yeah, I agree. I really, really liked this. This is just damn good. So let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 Dogs of War. Because it's really good, but it does have some what I feel are more than likely errors in animation than they are intentional choices. And even if they are intentional choices, I'm gonna take a little issue with the choice. So.
All right, and I'm gonna give it. I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 I-beams.
Nice.
Nice. Because it's a little short. It's almost like Fruit Stripe gum. Like, boy, it's awesome. Now it's over.
Yeah.
And yes, and also the what you mentioned about some of the techniques involved. Yeah, it's really good. I would have loved. I would have loved to seen this broadcast on Cartoon Network. It's really good.
Yeah, you know how much I would love to see fan work like this put on official channels and stuff. That'd be so good.
Yeah, that happens rarely. I told you a while back. Bob's Burgers did a all fan animation episode as their season premiere, season 8, which got mixed results. By the way, I loved how many people were going, "Oh, this is terrible! Why are they doing this?" Like they said at the beginning of the episode, "Stupids! It's fan animation."
All right. Well, so folks will notice that this is a very short episode of Geeky Gentlemen because this was a very short fan film. So we decided to do another short fan film, so there'll be another episode of Geeky Gentlemen fan film reviews uploaded today at the same time. We've got twin uploads. Congratulations, what? Manos. They're twins. Manos, what are we reviewing in the other video?
Well, the other one is a Miss Marvel fan film called Kamala.
Indeed. So we will see you over there, everyone. There will, of course, be a link in the description along with other episodes posted this week. So see you then. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.